because he's like the biggest alleged financial criminal, like of our generation.
Yeah. Literally, like.
So I was like, I'm sure you can't just have visitors over. But he was like, yeah, I'm allowed visitors.
Welcome back to the Aubservation. Today we have on the podcast Tiffany Fong, who is known for her YouTube coverage of the Celsius collapse and has also gone to SBF's house while he's not under house arrest for an interview.
Sounds so bad.
This is maybe one of our most insane podcasts. Just started off because we are actually in the Ritz-Carlton, like hiding because they won't let us film. And how many guys, I swear to God, we're going to get like...
This is like a women's locker room, right?
Yeah. We're in a women's...
So a maid is probably going to walk in and kick us out at some point.
For sure. And it's probably even worse that we're filming in a locker room because you're not supposed to film.
And there might be a nude lady in and out at some point. But
it only help, really. Okay, but before we dive into the podcast, I want to shout out to our sponsors, Cash App. The Aubservation is powered by Cash App. When personal finance meets your funds and the stuff that matters, that's money, that's Cash App. Download the app, buy Bitcoin, not financial advice, obviously, because everything is, we can't do anything anymore in this space. Okay. So, Tiffany, I've been following your Twitter journey, like, you're just online journey, I guess.
Oh, God.
And I was like, damn, this girl is wild. Like, these are some crazy interviews, like, but in the best way. Like, not in a bad way. Like,
Thank you.
Your coverage is super cool, and you've grown, like, an amazing YouTube channel. And so, yeah, like, what was your decision to do that?
I really have no idea what I'm doing. I didn't expect any of this to happen. I don't know what I'm doing here right now.
I don't think either of us.
Well, I just lost a lot of money to Celsius. I was angry. None of my girlfriends are in crypto, so I had no one to talk to about it. When I was whining about what was happening with Celsius, none of my friends knew what the hell I was talking about. So I just wanted somewhere to vent where other people would feel sorry for me and also vent. So I posted my first YouTube video, like right when Celsius shut down.
Ever?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Ever, yeah. So that was like the end of June or July or something like that.
Okay.
So that's my first YouTube video ever. I expected literally no one to watch it because I had no prior videos, no following, literally zero. And yeah, it didn't go viral, but it got like quite a few views for having no followers. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep posting updates because I was looking up updates because all my money was trapped.
And you lost three Bitcoin and 7 Ethereum?
3.1 Bitcoins, 11.6 ETH.
Okay.
Handful of Matic, some Aubé. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
So you were like devastated and you had no one to talk to about that?
I was already going through a breakup at the time. So I was already really depressed.
How were you okay?
Oh my God, I was not okay this entire time. I have not been okay this whole time.
Oh my God.
It's like people comment on like how well I took it because I was like laughing in my video. I was like laughing talking about how much money I lost, but it was just comical to me how shitty my life was at that point because I was going through a breakup, and then like when I got the notification on my phone that like Celsius had shut down withdrawals, I was just like, well, fucking hell, of course it did. Like I'm already at the worst time of my life.
Why did you use Celsius? Not judging, but like what?
Well, I got Bitcoin really early. I got Bitcoin back in like 2011, so I've been holding for ages and didn't sell much of it. And then
This is so heartbreaking. 2011.
Yeah. So I've been holding Bitcoin for a really long time. Didn't sell much of it. That's why I had 3 Bitcoins to put in there. I still have some crypto and whatever, so it wasn't all my crypto. But I hadn't like sold too much. So I was like, oh, there's now these places you can leave your crypto and you'll get some money. And I was seeing the like Celsius and BlockFi promoted by so many YouTubers that I respected and people that I thought were credible and legitimate. So I was like, oh, this must be legit.
So it wasn't all your crypto.
It wasn't all
but you went to Celsius because it was like promoted by YouTubers and influencers.
Yeah, I feel like people that I respected were using Celsius and BlockFi, and I was like, okay, this must be legit. I honestly
lose money in BlockFi too.
I had some of my crypto in BlockFi, and I moved it from BlockFi to Celsius. I mean, I have like $400 in BlockFi. Yeah, like not too much. But I moved most of it to Celsius because BlockFi's interest rates kept going lower and Celsius were remaining the same. Red flag, obviously, but I was a dumb bitch and I left it in there. So yeah, that was all stupid. But I mean, that's all boring. But yeah, I was already depressed. I was going through a breakup.
And so you lost your money, you lost your man.
Lost my man, lost my money.
And
what else is there?
Yeah, I don't know, what's your home money?
Yeah.
But that's pretty, so then you were like, why were you positive?
I was just laughing at it because I thought it was so hilariously like depressing. I was just like, oh, my life is such a fucking shit show. Like, of course this would happen like when I'm going through like my first real heartbreak. And yeah, so I was like laughing in my video. A lot of people commented on that and thought I was, I don't know.
So people laugh through pain though.
I do laugh through pain. I've had a lot of bad things happen to me. Like someone that I was dating passed away. I was like making jokes about him like ghosting me. I was like, oh, now really fucking ghosted me. I don't know. I'm just a sick person. So you can't take most of the things I say on Twitter or YouTube seriously.
You couldn't take anything that anyone says on Twitter seriously. And I hate when people do. It's like, I literally am trolling.
I know, right? I'm always trolling. Everything I do is fucking trolling.
Isn't a joke.
No, it's fucking ridiculous.
Anyway, so YouTube started growing and you were, covering the collapse of Celsius, but you brought in like Fight Machinsky, right? Sorry, Alex Machinsky, CEO of Celsius.
Yes. I'm already very vocally like constantly telling Alex to go fuck himself. And then employees inside the company started sending me leaked information, which I don't know how that happened. Like, I didn't solicit this. I didn't put out like a call on YouTube being like, send me information. Yeah, but I got my first one. And at first I thought it was like, is this someone's trolling me? They were like, I have inside information from the company. And then I received the audios and I could hear Alex Machinsky's voice. And I was like, oh shit, this is real. So that was the first one. So I
Is it a call or what was like that?
That was an internal all hands meeting. So I guess the source recorded it and sent it to me. Yeah, so that was fun.
The calls are coming from inside the house.
The calls are coming from inside the house.
Damn. Okay, so you're like, wow, I'm getting all this information. What do I do with this? Do I create more videos, more content?
So yeah, the first one I leaked with the New York Times. I leaked it on September 13th. That was like the internal all hands.
This is insane to me. You've been in Time, New York Times, like a bunch of really, really
it's now publications. A lot of the publication. I mean, it's not really about me. They're not really showcasing me. It's just because people keep sending me information. So I'm like, I guess I'm attached to that.
So which is cool. You keep breaking it. Well, you're like kind of like this pseudo journalist.
I guess so. That wasn't like anything I set out to be. But I try to be thoughtful about how I'm presenting the information and when I am and all of that. So I mean, I guess now I'm a citizen journalist. I wasn't setting out for that, but it's been fun.
But what did you do before this? What are you doing currently? Like an actual full-time gig? Like what is your?
So I went to USC, and right after USC, I had some money saved up, and I like just went backpacking. I was just staying in like hostels, like literally paying like $5 a night. A lot of the time I spent a lot of time in like Southeast Asia and Morocco and places that were really cheap. And during that, I met a lot of like digital nomads who were building like a lot of online stores and doing a lot of e-commerce stuff. So I like took notes from them and tried out making a ton of online stores and e-commerce stores, like all different kinds of business models, like drop shipping, print on demand, selling digital files and artwork, etc. So I just made a ton of stores while I was traveling, and some of those are still running, so I make some passive income on those still. I'm certainly not like, I'm not making like insane amounts of money. I'm not making like...
Has anyone from the crypto space like felt bad for you and sent you crypto to like...
People have sent me like little bits, like no one's like made me whole. Like I'm still down bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really sweet when people send me like little bits every here and there.
That's really nice. It is like, I feel like that would happen if you told a story like that.
Nice.
You know?
I haven't like explicitly like asked or pleaded or anything like that on YouTube, but it is very nice and appreciated. So thank you guys.
We thank you.
Shout out to you guys. I'm certainly not whole though.
Make her whole, guys. Make her whole. We're down 3 Bitcoin,
down
11 ETH.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like when I put it in, it was over 200K. I think when it hit the peak, it was over a $250,000, and I was like, oh, that could have been a house.
It just hurts so bad.
It does.
Pain.
But I don't like cry. I just like laugh when I'm feeling pain. So
I wish I was like
to know that,
because I'm like not.
Oh, I also cry.
Okay.
But like
it comes later.
Publicly, I like laugh at it.
Laugh at it
because I don't want to come off as too self-pitying. In private, though, I will cry. I'm a depressed person, so I cry all the time. So yeah,
real after you
love that for me.
Okay, so you're getting leaked information from inside of Celsius.
Yes.
And you're putting. Are you in your mind? I need to create more YouTube videos. Or this first one kind of did well. Where does this go?
I wasn't super strategic about any of this. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing. Like, my first few YouTube videos were just things that I was looking up, and I was like, oh, other people who lost money to Celsius would probably want to know this. So those were my first videos. Then I started getting leaks. So then I tried to put out the leaks.
And the leaks were like, go ahead and put it out.
Yeah, some of them, like, obviously they just didn't want their identities tied to it. So I've been really careful about not revealing anyone's identity or anything that could tie back to them. But yeah, for the most part, they've just been like, just please don't ever.
I love these people that are leaking.
I know, shout out to you guys at Celsius or anywhere. A lot of other people send me like other information, but sometimes they turn out to just be guys who are like creepy.
Yeah.
Anyway, but everyone who does send me information and isn't trying to like kidnap me or anything, I really appreciate it.
Tim likes you.
You guys are angels. You guys are the real heroes. That's a homelander quote. That's kind of sick. But yeah. So
there's no strategy. There's no plan. You're just no strategy is out there.
no strategy.
Shots in the dark.
I really haven't. Yeah. Like, I never had any aspirations to be an influencer or anything. Like, I used to make fun of influencers because I lived in LA. I went to USC, and I feel like all of my friends wanted to be influencers, and I was like, oh, cringe.
So painful.
Very painful.
But I say that as I like have a YouTube show. I don't really know what to call myself. I
mean, we both do now. I certainly don't call myself an influencer, but I guess like other people call it.
And I'm like, what determines that? Anyway,
I know, it's so stupid.
But yeah, sometimes it's like thrust upon you, like the way it happened with you, and then you're like, wait, I feel like what am I doing?
I feel really like lucky, like the fact that all of these things have just plopped into my lap. Like, I feel really lucky. I am constantly just like, I don't know how this happened, but I'm thankful.
So on the influencer side, okay, I want to close the loop on Celsius, but I do want to talk about that because of this like influencer. You've been called an influencer and a crypto influencer. Mm-hmm. And the New York Post had a picture of you in a bikini on an article next to SBF. And I was like, fuck that.
I know, right? Yeah. That was appalling.
They had scanned your Instagram form, correct?
Yeah, and it was like, that was a really old picture. Same with the Daily Mail. They also pulled an old picture. That picture was from like, literally, I was like fresh out of high school, I think.
What did the Daily Mail say? What were they trying to say?
Daily Mail, New York Post was disgusting. Daily Mail, I was almost more upset at because they approached me noting that they saw that I was disgusted by the New York Post because they saw my tweets where I had expressed that I was disgusted that the New York Post took old pictures of me in a bikini for their...
And for context, this was next because you had gone to meet Sam Bankman-Fried at his house and tweeted about that. And immediately, like, I remember that when I saw the tweet come out, and then it literally felt like an hour later. Was out.
Honestly, I wasn't even planning on tweeting about it. I tweeted about it because the New York Post messaged me saying they were going to put a story out. I didn't want to like cause a big commotion about it, to be honest. Like, Twitter is insane, and I didn't know if I was going to tweet about it or make it public because obviously
was Sam
had a conspiracy theory.
Was Sam okay with you saying like you were going to go meet him? This is, and like just to give people context, if you're listening like on audio or whatever. So Tiffany this is after Sam Bankman-Fried had been like back to his parents' house in Palo Alto, and he was on house arrest, so he couldn't go anywhere. So she had to go to his house to do this interview.
And for prior context, I guess we've done this in a roundabout way, but
we haven't got all
I interviewed him twice. Immediately after FTX's collapse, we had 2 phone interviews that I posted. They're on my YouTube. So it wasn't like we randomly DM'd him and he was like, come over. I'd interviewed him twice before. He was extradited from the Bahamas to the United States after those interviews. And he messaged me when he got back to his parents' house just about something that he was seeing on Twitter, just like rumors about the fact that people thought that he paid $250 million cash for his bail, which he didn't. So I think he just
wanted to
clarify that. Because it's something that
he wanted you to clarify it.
He didn't tell me to clarify, but I think that I had tweeted about the bail, and I think that he wanted to clarify it to me, like that he didn't pay $250 million in cash.
Yeah, it was the house situation.
Yeah, it was like a personal recognizance loan or bond. But yeah, so we got in touch, and so he let me know that he was back at his parents' house. So then I was the one to reach out and be like, oh, are you allowed visitors? didn't think that someone on house arrest was actually allowed visitors. That was just me just like shooting the question out, but expecting him to say no.
Yeah.
Because he's like the biggest alleged financial criminal, like of our generation.
Yeah. Literally, like.
So I was like, I'm sure you can't just have visitors over. But he was like, yeah, I'm allowed visitors.
He's like our Bernie Madoff. It's just crazy. Like, okay, so you're going to see like our generation's Bernie Madoff at his house where his parents are. Like, what is his disposition at the time of like showing up to the house? And like, do you say hello to the parent? Like, what are you thinking when you're like driving up there and you're like, this is...
Like all of this, I never expected any of these things to happen to me. I never expected to get the first 2 like phone interviews with him, and then going to his house. I was still nervous and in shock. I was like, am I seriously going to Sam Bankman-Fried's house right now?
Did his parents give you like food? Like what?
They did not give me food. They did not give me any vegan Beyond Burgers, which was sad. But no, his parents. I barely spoke with them. I've seen his dad like pop his head into the little library or office or whatever we call it.
Yeah.
Like once. But we haven't like had a conversation or anything.
Is he like, get out of here, Dad? Or like, what was like the situation?
He seemed like a little annoyed that his dad was like popping his head in. He was just like, Dad. So like,
Dad, I'm with a girl.
Don't make a conspiracy theory about this. But it's funny, like it just feels like you're visiting like a guy that's on like break from college or something, because it's just like a kind of youngish dude like living with his parents.
It's kind of funny with this.
Yeah. House arrest, baby. Normal dude with ankle monitor. I'm just kidding.
You seen the ankle monitor?
I did see the ankle monitor. He's wearing t-shirt and shorts as always. So yeah, I saw the ankle monitor.
Do you think he seemed like more relaxed now that everything had broken? Like what was the interview like? What was...
Like this entire time, he's never seemed like completely distraught. Like when I come in, he's not like crying or anything like that, which is somewhat shocking. Although maybe I would be the same too, since I like laugh at myself when I'm going through traumatic events. So I don't know. But he did seem like a little. He seemed a little battered down after being in prison. Like that visit, he seemed a little beaten down. But yeah, I mean, generally was just polite, which no one wants to hear. I know you all want to hear. He's like a monster.
I actually want us to tell it the right way, how he actually is polite.
Was he playing polite? And so yeah, I visited him a couple times so far. The first time he didn't play video games. He was just like,
it's just going on.
Oh yeah, don't mind. The first time I visited him, he was just like clinging to his like little Google Docs and spreadsheets that he was making, which I don't feel weird sharing now because I think now we've seen them publicly on his Substack.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first time I visited was before he'd post anything on Substack. So he was like just typing pages and pages of like his thoughts out and spreadsheets of what he thinks Alameda and FTX's balance sheets are. Yeah, so that was the general gist. He was just kind of clinging to those. He's a very fidgety person, constantly like shaking or like playing with like his class ring or whatever he has in his hands. So
do you think he feels bad? Do you actually think he feels like wrongdoing in what happened? Like does he committed to the belief that this was like just got out of control and he didn't have enough time to save it?
Both. Like he's certainly expressed remorse for what's happened.
Like true remorse though, if it's like if I would have done that to people, I would be crying, honestly suicidal, like to be honest. And brought my family, not just because of myself, but I brought my family so much shame. Like you hear Bankman-Fried ever again and you think that for the rest of the next 100 years, you know?
Yeah.
And that must be such a I don't know if you take that in or like you know, and then just think about all the people that were like you. It's kind of ironic that you who have been like rugged were interviewing someone who rugged
exactly
others.
Because a lot of people have like pointed out that like I don't know, people think I'm not sensitive to the fact that people were rugged, but I'm like, I've been rugged. I know what it's like. I lost like most of my life savings, so I know what it's like. And it's funny because I was dating someone in New York a few months ago, back when I was in New York, at the time of FTX's collapse, and he had left like the majority of his savings in FTX.
Oh,
so
I'm just like you're just like kind of a
magnet
coming around.
bad vibes, bad
I have to like cleanse myself with sage. I like the sage.
Yeah.
Make sure I have everything in cold storage. Oh my god.
Oh my god, it's so funny. And it's funny, like Zach Prince followed me on Twitter like 2 days before BlockFi went.
Oh man, and it's like so funny.
What were we talking about?
Just like the remorse, and then the remorse.
He's definitely expressed remorse. Like on one of our phone calls, he sounded really genuinely remorseful. So like, he was talking about how he like punishes himself a lot behind the scenes, and like I could fear his. I don't know what he does to punish himself. I don't want to make any weird claims about that.
Oh, he didn't tell you.
No, he didn't say what, but he just said that he like really does beat himself up, and that it weighs enormously on him, and like he sounded like his voice was kind of cracking. So like there have certainly been points where I think he is being genuine, but also like I'm also sure he's aware that he should be contrite right now. So like some might think it's performative to some degree. I can't make claims, obviously I'm not in his head, but like there have been moments where I think he's being genuine, but also like he does still seem to put much more blame on others. Like he doesn't seem to take all the responsibility.
And who does he feel like is most at fault?
I feel like we can connect the dots here where he's consistently distanced himself from Alameda.
Caroline?
Yeah. So I don't want to like say that he's naming her name, but like if we put the dots together, it's just like he's basically been like, well, FTX went down because Alameda failed to hedge, and kind of placing more blame on Alameda, as well as obviously CZ, which we're all aware of. So
mad that CZ didn't bailed on the deal.
I think of that, as well as just the fact that he felt that the attack was very targeted, and he feels that FTX would be fine if it wasn't for CZ, which is debatable, obviously. Like they shouldn't have been so fragile in the first place. Like your company shouldn't be able to be taken down by a tweet.
Yes.
So like that's all debatable, but yeah, he does seem to place blame elsewhere. So there have been moments where I do think he's genuinely remorseful, but also he does shift a lot of blame.
Seems like conflicted. Seems like he just, which almost feels like he, and I'll explain it, like can maybe hasn't grieved the full remorse, because he does feel like there are other players and other people that have faults in the game.
Totally. And I do think that that's part of it. Like on our very first phone call, that was I think his first audio interview after the FTX collapse, and I remember him like not sounding too upset or like not too affected when he first picked up the phone. Like he was just like, hey, it's Sam. Like he sounded totally normal, which was like a little bit shocking to me. But then I'm like, I don't know, maybe if he was just hadn't processed it yet. I don't know. I mean,
Do you think
obviously I'm not trying to give him too much of the benefit of the doubt. I'm just actually trying to understand like what's happening.
What was happening?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this is like, you can't really answer this question, but I mean, it is a kind of known that Sam is maybe a little bit on the spectrum, or maybe has like maybe he just doesn't take it the way someone else would take it. Like I'm not trying to even diagnose him. I don't know his history. I literally don't know what he is, but people have just said that about him. And so maybe that's a part of it. Like the reactions aren't quite the same.
It could be, yeah. Because, yeah,
it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It is difficult for me to understand. And yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I've gotten heat for the way that I've reacted to like my own losses, so I feel bad like shitting on someone else for the way that they're reacting to something.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you all can't be like, exactly. There's so much connection here. Yeah. People are like, why are you laughing? You lost. I'm like, why is Sam not? What is wrong with him? We in a simulation. What's happening? Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I deal with tragedy by laughing. So I mean, I'm like, I guess at least Sam hasn't been laughing during this. That would be very distasteful.
But you and Sam also just deal with negative situations.
I've also never stolen $8 billion of customer funds. So if I was doing that, then I would.
True.
Also, I'm not accusing him of stealing. That was just me joking. I don't know. All of these are alleged crimes. And just putting that out there.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Allegedly.
I'm kidding.
Okay. So then there's this huge thing that breaks back to kind of how we were talking about the New York Post article, the Daily Mail article, all these things. They're like, oh, there's this romantic relationship between you and Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah, like they didn't say it with their words, but they used.
It was like an innuendo. What did they say? He tried.
I think the first line was like, "Sexy crypto influencer visits FTX bad boys. Bad boy. Like, I think that's the first time like Sam would ever be all like bad. Like it's like he's just like a rugged bad. I'm just kidding. No one joking. I'm saying that that's what in New York.
First time he was called a bad boy in his whole life, but not by his mother.
He probably loved it. Oh God, I hope people aren't taking too many of these statements too seriously. Someone like quotes me on these things.
There's like Tiffany Fong said
that Sam is a bad boy.
Okay, so how did you feel to be a sexy crypto influencer?
Oh, that was like off-putting.
It's the worst.
I mean, it's so cringe. I've never called myself an influencer. It's so fucking cringe. Then I got like a lot of people attacking me, being like, "You think you're like such a sexy crypto," like as if I wrote it, like I have like a huge ego. I'm like, no, I don't call myself that. Like I don't think I'm a sexy crypto influencer. That's fucking cringe.
The article.
Yeah, like people like I got some like mean messages like, "You think you're so cool visiting Sam Bankman-Fried? You think you're such a sexy crypto influencer?" Just like I didn't write this article, dude. Like I don't call myself this. That's so fucking crypto influencer. You think you're so sick?
I think you're so sexy.
People can show fucking.
But like, did your family see it? Were they like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it was. I just remembered like the New York Post reached out to me, told me they were running a story. I was pissed off like immediately. The guy emailed me. I woke up to the email and he was like, "We're running a story on this," and he left his phone number. I didn't tell anyone about the visit. So I was confused as to how he even had that information.
From the tweet?
No, I tweeted it because he said he was writing the article. So I was like, I might as well just
get ahead of it.
Yeah, because like I'm not gonna. Yeah. So I tweeted it because he said he was going to write an article. I wasn't sure I was going to even announce it because I didn't know going into it if Sam was going to tell me anything on the record or off the record. So
did he go off the record on anything?
He didn't say on or off the record. He was just kind of like telling me that he's not talking to most journalists on the record. So I kind of was just going to take that
probably
cue.
For legal reasons he can't.
Yeah. So like I was just going to take the cue. Like he didn't tell me anything explicit about don't post this or this is all off the record. But I was just taking the cue since he told me he's not talking to other people on the record. I was like, okay, I probably shouldn't post this. So I wasn't going to. And then I wake up to that email from the New York Post and I was just confused as to how they even knew about this. So I called the guy, Andy Tillett. And he was so like he was such a little asshole.
Andy, you suck.
He just immediately was like, "So, heard you went to Sam Bankman-Fried's last night," and I was like, "Okay, yes." And he was like,
"New York Post."
He was such a little bitch. I fucking hate that guy. He was like, "Well, so what'd you guys do? You go to Sam's bedroom?" And I was like, "No." So I think that was like the first thing he asked me, and I was like, "No, we were literally in his library." And then I'm like, I hear him pause between these, like every time I answer one of his like questions or like him trying to antagonize me. I'm like, oh wait, you're using this as quotes.
Yeah.
Fucker. So like he took some of my quotes. That's why the title says he's surprisingly optimistic because he kept shooting questions at me, but in a really antagonistic and leading way. Like he would be like, "So, but did you guys go to his bedroom?" And then I had to be like, "No, we weren't in his bedroom. We were in his library." So yeah, he like kind of pulled quotes out of me without me trying to give him quotes.
Yeah.
And then a few hours later, the article came out.
Holy shit, that was
tabloid.
So wild.
It was wild.
But like, did you feel pissed that they put your bikini picture up? Or
I was pissed at the whole thing. Like that whole thing was a fucking mess. It was all disgusting.
What was your goal? Like, was it to be friends with Sam? Was it to get the interview? Was it to like just be like, this is an interesting period of time? Like, why not?
I think that last one is interesting to me. But I was hoping like my ideal situation would be that like it would be an interview like the previous interviews that I had done with him where I like posted them on YouTube. But I was also sensitive to the fact that when he was giving me those interviews, he wasn't aware that he really might go to prison. Like it didn't seem like that had hit him yet. And when I met him in person, he was just out of prison. So I was like, I assumed that like some of the reality of the situation had been knocked into him at the time. So I was gonna go into it hoping he'd give me an on-the-record interview. But if he didn't, then I'm also just happy to hear about like what's happening in his head and what is going on in the situation or hear anything he'd be willing to tell me, I guess, off the record. So like the whole thing is fascinating. Like it is like the biggest financial scandal and alleged crime of our generation.
It is.
And to be able to ask someone directly like some questions, especially since I like read all the news coverage pretty like heavily and consistently since I try to cover it on YouTube and stuff like that. I have questions to ask, so if I'm able to ask them
directly to him,
I might as well. So ideally on the record, if not, still want to ask the question.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. Okay, so what did you walk away after you left his house? Were you guys just like, bye? Thanks for coming through?
But yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, like, we talked for like quite some time. Like, he seemed like he had a lot of venting to do because he had been in prison for about a week, so that's not that long.
And was he in his like own cell? Like, do they have his own? He's in such a, he's like a high.
Yeah.
Oh, he had cellmates?
He had cellmates, but I think he was put in their medical ward, so he wasn't in with all the other inmates who, he told me, like, some of the inmates he heard had to use, like, bags to shit, like, things like that. So he just...
So Sam was not shitting in a bag?
He wasn't shitting in a bag. So, yeah, it seemed like he kind of wanted to vent, and I think I was, like, one of his first visitors. Like, the only person that I think saw him before me was Michael Lewis. So, I mean, yeah, I was at his house for like a few hours because like, I think he kind of wanted to vent about it.
Did it feel like you needed a friend?
I felt that the entire time, like ever since FTX collapsed and like all of the insiders seemed to have turned on him and left the Bahamas, and he was pretty much like one of the only people still there. Like on our phone calls, we've touched on the fact even that like he's really lonely, and like he's just like made little jokes like, oh, I'm certainly lacking in the social life department now, and like things like that. Cause like, yeah, he's said that like all this close friends.
Sometimes I feel bad. Like I do feel bad even though he's like, I don't know. I feel
it's hard because I feel bad like talking about these things because obviously it's a touchy subject. A lot of people lost money, and I don't want people to think I'm trying to make people sympathize with him. But like I can like relay what he said, and like at points I've felt bad too, and like that's not great to admit publicly because I feel
no, the popular thing always is to cancel someone and to jump on people and to be like a big mob with torches. And I'm not saying that Sam doesn't deserve that, because like he definitely deserves everything coming his way.
Totally.
I hope if it all, I mean, like they need to go through a proper
trial. Yeah, totally.
And like that needs to happen. And if it comes out that he is like needs to go to jail, then
I completely agree. Like if all the hard evidence surfaces, then like if he needs to go to jail, then put him in jail. Like I'm not like.
But everyone gets tried publicly before. I mean, the evidence is like overwhelming, though. If we're being honest, like it is overwhelming. I mean, but we don't know, right?
They're everything to him, and he always has an excuse and always an answer about it. But yeah, there is a lot of.
It's just weird that we can have like a little bit of. I'm like, it seems like someone. I just don't know though. It's like, how did you have this like, you know, effective altruism or whatever it was that he was like propping around and giving like celebrities all this money, and like what was the real strategy? Like I just cannot believe that it was, oh whoops. Like I don't know why it's so hard to be like, this was an honest fuck up.
It's tough for me to believe too, and I've told Sam that a lot of this is tough for me to believe. Like
I feel like we're like girlfriends getting gaslit, like, you know what I mean? Not making her.
I know, right?
That's like a weird example.
I have been gaslit.
You know what I mean? Getting gaslit, like, no, and you're like, what are you telling me? What do you mean? Like,
yeah, no, I totally get that. Yeah, I mean, he still stands by that, like, he really just wanted to make a lot of money to donate to charity, and then, like, obviously, then if you ask him about why he was spending so much on marketing and all these things, and he like reasons it as like, well, I wanted to build the company and expand it larger so that I could donate more money. Like it all ends up tying back to effective altruism. Anyone in the public can decide for yourself if you believe he's being honest or not. But he has maintained in our conversations that like that really is his goal, like was his goal. And I think still is, but he obviously can't do too much of that now.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. All right. Well, where do you go from here? Like, are you gonna do another interview? Are you gonna follow the trial? Like, what is your?
I'm trying to like. I think I don't know. It seems like at some point Sam might end up talking on the record again. Like, I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I still am like interested in hearing his responses to questions. So like, I'm happy to continue chatting with him, although that brings a lot of conspiracy theories on Twitter.
Yeah. Do you want to clear the air on here of anything? Like, do you like want to set the record straight?
Oh my God. No, we're not banging. But I also like I don't even want to have like clips of me out there talking about personally. Yeah, I'm like I am still like interested in asking the questions, especially because like it seems like weekly new information does come out. Like There's still the bankruptcy hearings. John J. Ray comes out with new statements. And like, if I'm able to ask Sam the questions, then I still want to hear them. Ideally, at some point he'd go on the record. But honestly, probably smart for him not to go on the record.
His lawyers are probably like, shut the fuck up.
I know, like his lawyers are probably like, want to just, I'm like, how have you not broken his phone?
Yeah.
God.
How come he's still like tweeting sometimes?
Yeah, it is a little shocking to me. Like, I feel like he thinks he's misunderstood and he wants to set the record straight, which, like, we can all argue about whether or not he's being honest, but I can understand that, to be honest, because obviously I've been the subject of tons of conspiracy theories, and then I'm like, do I need to set the record straight? Like, do I need to put out a biography of myself? Like, recently, someone, like, there was a Twitter conspiracy theory, like, someone had the same name as me, Tiffany Fong, and apparently opened some company in like Ireland. And then there was like a weird little conspiracy theory that I was starting shell companies in Ireland because I had the same name as someone. And then they were like, oh, your date of birth matches. And I was like, that's not my date of birth. But do I now need to put out like a biography of myself and show you that, like, tell you my date of birth? And
honestly,
so I can, like, to be honest,
you do write a book. Maybe you write a book. I actually think you should.
Maybe.
Me not relating you to this, and this is a big leap, but the entire media coverage. Right now I'm reading The Spare by Prince Harry, and it talks about like the media coverage of his life. I think he hit a point where he was just like, F this, I'm gonna write my own book because it's never written correctly.
Completely.
And at least if I put it out there, like I'm not going either way on like how I feel about Harry and Meghan or whatever, but like at least he put out his own words.
Very true. Like I don't think I'm as interesting to the public as the Prince Harry or anything. So like I don't think that anyone even cares to hear my story. But like, yeah, I've thought about that, or just putting out something about myself, or I don't know, like I've thought about those things before, because there's so many weird conspiracy theories that pop up that I can actually, to some degree, understand why Sam would want to like be like, this is like, let me clear up some misconceptions. He could. I'm not saying he's not lying in his like retelling of the stories or events. I don't know. I don't have the facts, but I can understand like the impulse to be like, let me clear things up.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Damn. Okay, so
even though he shouldn't be.
Even though what?
Even though he shouldn't be doing that because lawyers and criminal charges.
I'm sure his lawyers are just like so annoyed. They're like, stop tweeting, stop doing it. Damn. All right. Anything else you would like to share that you found interesting during your time visiting him, covering this whole saga, your personal story, losing money, or any advice you would like to give?
I don't know. Like, I'm happy to answer questions, but like, I don't know what things are interesting to other people. So like, there's nothing that comes to the top of my head that I feel is interesting. I feel like I'm sitting on a lot. This whole thing has just been a whirlwind for me. Like, I'm still in shock at the fact that I've somehow been thrown into I'm not saying in the middle of a financial scandal, because I did not work at Alameda or FTX. I don't actually have like inside knowledge of what happened because I didn't work there. But just to be like at somewhat of the center of speaking to someone that's part of it, all of this has been shocking to me. So I don't know what parts would be most interesting to people. If you have any other questions, happy to.
I mean, I think you've cleared the air on most of the things. I think I wanted you to get the chance to clear the air, because I was like, when I saw this stuff happening to you, I was like, I hate when I see that happening to someone, and I like to give them a platform, because they can go on their own YouTube channel and do it too. They're like, yeah, you're just like caping up, like do an interview.
I know. I thought about how to relay any of this as well. Like even the SBF stuff, like there are things that I'd be interested in sharing, but I also like then anytime I've shared any slivers of what he's said, then I get accused of being, I'd have to think through or like look through my notes. Yeah. But like I've thought about like, oh, do I make a YouTube video about this, or do I put out a post about like some things that he said? But then people attack me for being his mouthpiece. Like so like there's no right way to go about it. Like I've been struggling with what to do with like being in my position.
All the information that you have.
Yeah, like not saying I have like some crazy inside information, or like him saying that he's like guilty of things or anything like that. But like, yeah, I'm trying to approach it. Yeah, like, I'm trying to approach this in somewhat of a journalistic capacity, like because I have questions to ask, and if any of those might interest the public, I'd like to share them. But sharing them puts me in a precarious situation, makes people think that I'm an insider or that I'm his mouthpiece.
I think at this point you have grown such a large following that's interested in this, that it's going, no matter what you do, if you write a book, if you interview, if you put it out there, if you talk about him, people will say like, oh, you're banging him. Oh, you're out for money to like capitalize on this event. Oh, you're like, you know, they'll just throw whatever negative adjective.
Do you get that stuff too?
I used to, yeah, I used to. Now I kind of just don't. Like, Twitter is toxic. It's a fucking cesspool.
It really is. Like, anything I do, people are like, you're doing this for money, you're doing this for attention. I literally tweeted, like, my sister taking a shit the other day. I just didn't think about it. Like, my sister and I shit, like, I don't know. No one follows my sister. I don't know that I want that. I feel like we always post dumb shit about each other. And I used to do that before I was like, I'm not a public person or a public figure, but before I had any following. Yeah. But then people were like, you're doing this because you like want followers. I'm like, dude, this is just my personality.
There's this weird roasting on Twitter where like people do come at you like that, but then it tapers off and they're like, that's just who they are.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like I used to do whatever I wanted when I had no following. And I used to say, like, be able to say whatever I wanted, send all my fuck yous, be as vulgar as I wanted, and no one attacks me because I didn't have a following, so no one thinks that I'm doing it for a following because I didn't have one. Yeah. Now that I have a following, I think I'm tweeting and acting and operating in the world exactly the same as I
Good. Don't change it.
Oh, I won't change. Like, I don't think that I'm that cool in the first place. Like, I don't know why the fuck I'm here. I don't know how I ended up here. So like, I'm not changing, but people like, now that I have a bigger following, I'm constantly like told that I'm doing these things for a following or whatever. I'm like, dude, this is literally how I've always.
You're not ever gonna win, but you do have a unique insight to one of like the biggest alleged financial criminals of our generation, of our time.
What a place to be in, and it's every girl's dream.
Everyone, like, you never knew. Like, that's just life, though. You never know what's gonna happen to
be in the middle of the biggest alleged financial crime of the generation.
There's gonna be a Wolf of Wall Street movie or some movie that's made, and someone's gonna have to play Tiffany. So who would you want to play you? And
oh my God. There's no Asian actresses out there.
There's a few.
Like what? Like Brenda Song or something?
Yeah, but she's kind of older now. She's too old to play you.
That's true.
You can't even go Lucy Liu because she's too old too.
Also too old. I don't know.
Who is there?
Nobody. We need more diversity.
That is tough. We need more.
We have to turn this into a talk here. Diversity in the media.
Actresses.
We need more Asian actresses. Now that I've like, I guess, assumed the role to some degree of a citizen journalist, I do get some people who are like, when I post like something vulgar, people are like, I thought you were a professional like journalist. And I'm like, I'm not a professional anything. I'm not professional. I'm not like a groomed, like filtered, like tidy little.
But I think that's better because then you don't have to like abide by these like ethical standards, or you know, you can.
I do try to abide by unethical standard,
but not in terms of my journalistic ethical standards.
Yes.
Or like, you don't have to. When you work for a publication,
I don't have to represent anyone.
Yes. Yeah.
Which has been a pro and a con. Like, I can do and say whatever I want, but I also don't get to hide behind the name of a publication. So for example, like one of the first pieces that came out on Sam was by a New York Times author. I'm not going to name his name because I don't want him to get more shit, but I think that the New York Times got a lot of shit because everyone was like, did you see that New York Times puff piece? It wasn't really the author that got a lot of shit. A lot of people were blaming the New York Times.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I don't have a publication or a brand name.
Oh, hi. We're done now. We're done. Yeah. Okay.
Please.
All right. Thank you.
Right. No strike 2, but
For 2.
we're no strike 3 for us.
But thank you for tuning in. Like and subscribe and hold your action. Oh, and
My YouTube channel is Tiffany Fong. And my Twitter is Tiffany Fong with 1_.
yay, follow Tiff. Thank you. Bye.
You don't own me.